Milano had once invested in a jewel store, but it lost money because someone kept robbing it. Twist, it was him. Zenobia thought the stone was evil. Was it? Well, yes, but he still longed to have it back. He'd felt so good killing ravens with it, and yet he'd felt unclean ever since he'd touched it. She confused him. She'd made him want to be a better fox, and then she'd abandoned him, never telling him she was the Emperor's daughter, never contacting him since. Well, who was she to tell him the stone was evil? And while he was trying to recover the stone Zenobia had taken from him, the Imperial fleet was tightening its grip. He might fail to save the rebellion, and it would all be her fault. Renato felt a burst of outrage. Not only had she stolen his gem, she'd also stolen his scientists. Sure, they were neutral, but they had helped him discover what the Emperor was up to. They were supposed to be helping me. So unfair. Felt ready to take on new powers. scientist toads were pointing arcane instruments at the stone and looking at it through prisms and reflections.
Mine, said Renato as he took back the stone.
We need it for science, croaked the toads. So he killed them. He felt better immediately. Smarter, too. I thought you'd never come for me, whispered the stone. Then, a far-speaker toad croaked in something like Zenobia's voice.
Leonardo, leave the stone with the toads. It will swallow your soul. You'll kill everyone you love.
That did seem vaguely familiar, but Renato had an army to lead, an empire to bring down.
Whispered the stone. It was right. The ruins. Renato had come there as a kid when it was still the fabulous city of Ubar, before the Emperor's ravens had come to pillage ancient books from its library and destroyed it. Now the rebel council lay hidden underneath the ruins. And between here and there, all these ravens to kill. They deserved it for what they'd done to the city. And the faster he could kill them, the more of a rush they gave him.
Come in handy in a pinch.
Not quite enough, thought Renato.
There was an engraving. Maximum capacity, 130 people.
Useful. whispered the stone. Ravens? Bernardo knew how the stone felt. Each raven he killed gave him a little jolt of pleasure. But he could only kill them so fast, and the pleasure wore off too quickly. Hopefully soon he would face a more powerful adversary. Yes, whispered the stone. The more power your enemy has, the more power I give you. I will make you emperor. But not with a bunch of mangy ravens. These things could really use a hand. Long stairs. So he was close to the rebel base. Nothing was on fire. So far, so good. Ice walls only let you through if they knew you were cool. I wonder what happens if I go that way. As he reached the secret entrance, he was shocked to see Zenobia talking with the council. She bore a white flag. The council has betrayed you, whispered the stone. Kill them. What are you doing here, love? Bernardo demanded. Come for the brown muffins? She's worried about you, croaked the council speaker. We all are. You're not yourself, Zenobia said. Before they could get into the rest of the intervention, he leapt at her. Unfortunately, the council speaker blocked him, so he slew her and the other council members. I'm not giving up, cried Zenobia as she darted off into the ruins. I think I just killed the entire rebel council, said Bernardo. See how much power they've given you. But they were on my side, weren't they? No one is on your side, except for me. He set sail for the fleet. There, at least, there would be enemies to kill. Unless that was the Iblis tone talking. He could never be sure. Anyway, who needed other rebels here? They'd only get in the way. A true hero fights alone after he's got all his friends killed. The road less traveled, thought Renato. How intriguing. The world was so beautiful. Everything was glowing, breathing, alive. Except, okay, the ravens he'd killed. But the wind was alive, like a million fingers caressing his hair. He'd never felt so powerful. He'd never felt so sexy. Somewhere down the path was the Emperor. Renato would slay him. Powerful man on earth. The Emperor Stone would give Renato all that power. And he would defeat him. Then he would set everyone free. Renato wondered what would happen with Jar. Would he be rescued by an emergency platform? last, he was face to face with Zenobia. She was still unarmed. No fire crackled from her claws. "Excellent. Kill her," whispered the stone. He raised his sword for the killing blow. "Is this what you really want?" she asked. "Or is it what the stone wants?" "Think of the power," insisted the stone. "I don't want to kill you," he told Zenobia, his arm still raised. "I know." But he could not put the sword down. "It wants blood," he told her. "I know. Oh, help me," he said. "She stabbed herself." "Take my blood," she said. "No, you mustn't," cried the Iblis stone. "Oh, no! Why did you—" He ran to embrace her, and she plunged her bloody dagger into his heart. "Why?" he said. "We'll be together in the halls of the valiant," she said. "I love you," he said. "Thank you." And the Iblis stone screamed, and then it began to glow. It burst into flames. It burned like an ember. And then it was ash that blew away in the wind. And Zenobia and Renato died in each other's arms. Oh, damn it. He lost again, and died. But there was burning Ubar behind him. He still had all his destinies ahead of him. But he'd learned another true thing. Zenobia still had feelings for him. He knew enough now, he thought. All these truths tumbling around each other in his head. There must be a way to puzzle the pieces together. If he used everything he knew, he could discover a new path to destiny. The book's pages fluttered to the beginning once again. Faster than before? And he fell. The clouds parted over the Isles of Boreas. It was time to choose. The rebellion was in trouble. Ravens were scouting for the secret rebel base. They needed a game changer. Pieces of the Sky Ripper had surfaced. Renato knew that using it could go catastrophically wrong. But he was sure he could figure out how to use it safely. Also, a temple had risen out of empty desert. The Iblis stone was hidden there. It was a dangerous artifact. It could corrupt its user into a bloodthirsty monster. Maybe he could find a way to use it, to take its power without surrendering to its wickedness. And also, his old friend Lupino needed rescuing. Of course, Renato had a pretty strong suspicion that Lupino had betrayed the rebellion, and he had a gut feeling that he needed to use that to his advantage. Renato finally realized that Lupino was a traitor to the cause, and maybe Renato could use that somehow. Renato couldn't quite put his paw on when he'd realized Lupino was working for the Empire. He'd never exactly seen Lupino sending coded messages to the palace, but he was sure. The rabbit had been on too many disastrous missions where he was the only survivor, or where he accidentally missed getting on the boat that went down to the abyss in flames. If Renato could prevent Lupino from getting back to the fleet with all the intelligence he'd probably gathered, it might be worth the trip. How had they come to this? They'd been on so many adventures together. Lapino had talked Renato out of prison at least 4 times, and Renato had rescued Lapino from at least 2 lynch mobs. So down on himself and everyone else. But behind the laughs, he wasn't a happy camper. Ooh, was this payback? Or did the Empire have his little white tail in a vice?
Oh, good! I need a new rug for my nest, said the lead raven.
You couldn't go sticking jewels in your gauntlet just anywhere. What if you dropped one and broke it? Luckily, there was a bench right here. Well, he'd always wanted to do that. As for the gate, well, he could take her or leave her. Sorry, it's best I could do. Boy, someone has spent a lot of money for a graduation present. landing everywhere from dropships. He'd better get moving. If they got to Lapino first, the rabbit would give the Empire all the intelligence he'd been stealing from the rebellion, and they'd probably give him a medal. He'd have to be very careful about how he played Lapino. At the slightest hint of danger, the mad rabbit would take off like a rabbit.
Hey! I got this friend who's a swan. Could he join up if he dyes his feathers?
Bloody and exhausted, Renato finally reached Lapino. The rabbit was practicing shuffling his favorite deck. Now that he knew what the rabbit was, there were a few things about him that Renato didn't find so amusing anymore. You sent me an urgent message saying that you're in danger. Oh, I am. The ravens are coming. Now, I got a clever plan to kidnap Zenobia. Renato wanted to clap shackles on the rabbit and shout, "You're a traitor, and I'm not falling for it." But if there was one thing Renato was sure of, it was that the core of the Sky River was dangerous mostly to its user. If he could put it in the Emperor's hands, old Isengrim III might blow himself and his fleet up with it.